Okay, Wednesday, September 7th. This is a SPY recap, end of the day. Let's go over what happened today, what it looks like for price action going forward, and some of the key levels to watch and monitor for, and what to expect. So today you can see we have a beautiful green bar. I mean, it's just a nice green bar. If you really look at it on its own, it just kind of opened above the midpoint of yesterday, started up, took out yesterday's high, which is a 2-up bar, and that kind of projects up to this high here, which we'll get to in a minute. It didn't reach it today. We'll see if tomorrow gets kind of a compound action to kind of broaden out above this bar, meaning we took out the lows of that bar, and then let's say we go up tomorrow, it would be 3 bars taking out the high of that bar. And then there are some other targets up there if things stay really strong, but you never know. So let's just get to, first of all, in terms of the price action today and what led you to be long. I discussed in the opening video and kind of a morning video how we were looking at this key pre-market range, and we had, whether we went up. I was actually thinking maybe, since we were coming down when I made the pre-market video, maybe we'd be starting lower because I have some lower targets, but instead price action just led us higher. But we didn't follow through on bar number 2, so you didn't know if that was going to be rejected, but it never quite reached, the halfway point of bar 1 to officially, reject you or, take out the lows of that first bar. So then we started up, and at this point it was kind of a moment of truth. I shot a morning video. You can go look at it, and we broke to the upside. I said, all right, you could try a long here. Now we just want to see if we get rejected here quickly or not, and obviously not. We just paused and started up, orderly pause inside this bar, up, orderly pause, up all day long. So big green bar. And again, it was just pretty clear, after the 5th bar here, that was where you needed to position yourself on the day. Even if you had a longer term bias to the downside, you shouldn't be doing anything to the downside today anyway. And if you are stuck on the downside, then you would have to wait. If you didn't want to do anything long, that's fine too. But, there was nothing to do going short. So now the question is, what's developing? Well, first of all, the obvious thing, if we zoom out the 15-minute chart, we could see the clear targets. Look at, these 2 highs here. So we broadened out low. If I take this line just to draw it, that's kind of the broadening lower. And if I redrew this one a little bit, well, I don't know if I can do it here without getting another one, but let's take this line from up here, whatever that was. You can see here now we have kind of the broadening action this way. So we certainly seem to be targeting up to that area to take out some stops here at a minimum. And if that doesn't if we don't reach this high and these 2 bars here, which really seems like pretty high probability we will, if in the days ahead, for some reason, we can't even get up there, and then we turn down with a 2 down, that will again really, if you watch the videos over the last few days and weeks, I'm expecting lower in the bigger picture, and if we can't reach our targets, that would be a clear sign, to get short. But what we're going to look for in order to get short, if somehow we don't reach, is we have to kind of get below. Now this red line here represents the open of the month. So let's get to the month for a second. It's kind of almost the halfway point of this big green bar. So just keep in mind, we really need to get below there. If you see some major rejection up here and then start heading down, sometime in September, you can feel pretty good that rejection was real, and as long as we cross this red line, then the month turns red again and we could be heading down. So again, it could just be a big downtrend where you get a couple of pullbacks and head lower, but it looks like the odds are you're going to broaden out a little higher first. So now when we look at the, let's look at the 2 different time frames, the weekly and the monthly. The weekly chart shows a potential 2 down rejection. Early in the, Monday we went down lower, and now we're back up almost to the halfway point of that bar. It's right on the, since I anticipate broadening out a little higher on the daily chart, that should bring this above the midpoint of that weekly bar, which to me then shows we should broaden out up here to the weekly high. Let's see where that is on the chart here. Yeah, that's that high up here. So, and you do have this 2 pivots. Once those are taken out, if it does, then you do have these pretty close to take out a weekly high. And maybe we're going to get an outside week, a 3-week, and then you'd have to see at that point whether you get follow through to the upside or maybe just kind of a 3 and then a 1 inside and back down. It could take a little time to turn down if we really want to broaden out higher first. So these are all things to keep in mind. And finally, on the monthly chart, like I said, even though I'm still looking for these lows to be hit, at this moment, we have the start of a green month. It's been about 4 days so far. These 4 days represent the month early on in the month, so plenty of time to still turn down. But for now, we got to get below the open of the month, which is this red line here. So until we start this, red again, at this point, you can keep playing the long side. And who knows? I mean, if this really gets a strong rally and we, get to the midpoint of that month, then all of a sudden maybe we're not heading down there at all. But that's going to take time to, on a long-term basis to confirm that we might be heading back up to those highs. So I still see a potential rejection here somewhere at the midpoint, but now I could see it, given this one day, I could see it taking a little time to develop. You never know, maybe tomorrow something just immediately collapses. I mean, you could have a failure up here. Let's say we start up strong tomorrow, but then can't get to that these targets, and then you can come down to the midpoint of that bar, which is kind of the open of the month, and maybe by tomorrow you can reject it. We've had a couple of those days like that where it starts up strong. This was a day it started up, and then by the end of the day, boom. So anything's possible, but we're going to kind of expect broadening higher. We might expect even a weekly, broadening higher before things turn down, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe that was the final low in here, and we're going to continue all the way up, and we're going to, as long as the weekly chart and the daily charts confirm that. And then, of course, as we, look day to day with our pre-market range and how price opens, we might be heading up. So for now, everything's up at the moment. Let's look for broadening higher. Let's see if we stay above the midpoint of yesterday. Tomorrow, let's see where the pre-market range is. Let's see how price opens, all the things I normally look at. But again, today, pretty, even though the beginning was a little bit murky as to what was actually going to happen, by the fifth bar, it was pretty clear things were up, and it could have been a lot of stocks to pick to trade long if you wanted to do it at that point in time. So now just let's see where we open tomorrow, but definitely anticipating the broadening. Just if you look at the 15-minute chart at nothing else, you can kind of see as you come up strong like that. That's clearly the next target in the short run anyway. So let's see what happens, and let's see how much strength comes in, or if something, for some reason fails and the bigger picture turns down again. But for now, let's stay to the upside and kind of see, again, how the overnight action, pre-market action, where that leads us starting tomorrow.